Modern animism makes the oldest spiritual belief easy for today's seekers to understand, practice, and live. Stay tuned and grow with us. Hey guys, if you're new to animism and are wondering how to really get started in making it a practice, I have a hack for you today that will help you to change the way you think and relate to the world. It's all about self-awareness and other awareness. I'll put that into perspective in a moment, but first I want to thank you all for being here. I'm Laura Giles, your host of Modern Animism Radio. And the show is free to listen to, but not to produce. So if you would like to support, please comment, share, review, or donate at buymeacoffee.com/It's Not You, It's Me to help us continue to create inspiring and educational animist content. Thanks. And let me give back to the world and all my relations by acknowledging the element of earth. Thank you for the ground beneath my feet, the fertile land that gives us food, our healthy bodies, qualities like tenacity, beauty, and abundance that support our life here in the physical. I acknowledge the element of air and give gratitude for the air that we breathe, ideas, creativity, inspiration, and communication. Acknowledge the element of fire and give gratitude for the passion, responsibility, will, warmth, and transformative energy that makes life possible and fun. Acknowledge the element of water and give gratitude for the example to flow with whatever life brings and be resilient, and for your nurturing, receptive, and deep energy. Thank you. Acknowledge the plant, animal, mineral, ancestral, and spirit realms. You complete me. And I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for all the new listeners around the world for tuning in. I was looking at our stats the other day, and we're 1 month into the return of the podcast, and we're quickly regaining audience from around the world. So I appreciate all the new listeners and those who are returning to the channel. Now, if you've been practicing animism for a minute, today's podcast will be a review, but I hope it inspires you nonetheless. So when I talk about awareness, there are a few things that are embedded into that. First, it's acknowledging the consciousness or sacredness of all things. That's Animism 101, the belief that everything is alive and sacred. And since it is alive and sacred, we need to respect the fact that it impacts us and is impacted by us. We're impacted by everything else. Everything relies on everything else, and it's up to us to help to maintain that natural order and balance. If we're loving and connected, we don't want to take up too much space, over-harvest things, or destroy habitat or organisms that other beings need to survive. It's really about self-awareness and other awareness. Think about all the people right now who go around without any awareness of how their behavior impacts others. When we storm around in an angry mood, that big energy ripples out around us and influences everything in the room. It's like wet paint. A single person in the dark mood can touch 10 people before they get to work in the morning. Then those 10 people touch another 10, and it just multiplies until lots of people are paint splotched and are carrying around that dark energy. If we move in the knowledge that people are sacred and connected, maybe we don't use insulting language to talk about anybody because we realize that we are them and they're us. Or maybe it's more about being a good neighbor and picking up trash in the neighborhood because it improves everyone's view. Or we make sure to clean up after our dogs so that everyone has a clean outdoor space. Or if someone tells us something about someone else, we keep it to ourselves because it's not our story to tell. Those are boundary issues. These things respect each of our personhood, but they also respect the fact that we're fellow humans walking the earth together. But awareness is not just about people, it's plants too. We know that plants communicate. I saw this video on YouTube this morning that had real-time feedback that shows how plants can signal danger to other plants. It's like, watch out, something hurtful is coming. And we know this. So respecting the consciousness and sacredness of plants might be shown by giving gratitude before harvesting something edible or medicinal. It could be to ask the plant to share its medicinal or nutritional value with us before we consume or use it. It's engaging with the plant so that we have a relationship with it rather than assuming dominion over it, like we're entitled to do whatever we want. When I go into a forest, I always try to be aware of the life that is there. All species of trees are different. Each individual tree is different. If you take the time to get to know them, you'll see that the energy is different. Some are open and giving, or some are closed off. The energy of the woods is different at different times of the day. The early morning just after sunrise is a magical time for the trees just behind my house. I'm often there and it feels really alive, like I'm being watched or even talked to. Before I ever hug a tree anywhere, use it to ground myself, use it for healing, or to take a branch, I always ask. It's an awareness thing. Now, trees can't talk. Maybe they don't even care that I'm cautious. Maybe they think I'm personifying them and projecting human values onto them. I don't know, but I don't want to act as if it's my right to do whatever I want. I have seen movies of the rainforest being cleared, and that makes my heart ache. There's no way that the trees, plants, and animals don't feel that. I don't ever want to be indifferent to the devastation of habitats, medicine, food, and shelter for so many creatures, so I take my role as steward of the land that I inhabit seriously. I consider the impact of trimming, harvesting, pruning, clearing, and planting on the rest of the plants. I think about what I'd want if I were the plants. Now, I don't think it's realistic to keep everything alive. Everything eats something. Nature provides things for us to use for clothing and shelter. And humans are the puniest, weakest animals on earth. We have no claws, no sharp teeth, and no fangs. We have to use tools and our brains to find ways to make what we need, and the resources for that are plants, animals, and minerals. Every plant and animal consumes something, but they only take what they need. I try to follow that role model so that nature stays balanced. It knows how to do that. I try to learn about how to do things because I didn't grow up as a farmer. I have overplanted things. I probably have overharvested things. But I'm learning because I want to mind my boundaries. I want to be aware. Animals deserve to have boundaries too. I just saw a story about some type of wildcat that was being seen more often in urban areas. I think it's awful. When we expand so far into the wild that the wildlife don't have any wild spaces, they're going to come into urban areas and maybe threaten people or their pets. And it's not the animal's fault, but we will likely make it their problem. Wild animals tend to stay away from people. But we go into the woods and we leave our food out. Don't be surprised if a bear is waking you up in the middle of the night going after your food. It's not great boundaries. It's their home. We're the visitors there. And if we're talking about pets, now we've taken on the responsibility for this creature, so we have to do a good job of caring for it. That means cleaning up after it, training it, feeding it, grooming it, and taking care of its medical needs. We can't just dump it on the roadside when we get tired of taking care of it, or it's not cute or fun anymore. And maybe worse, I see these videos online about people who treat wild animals like they're playthings. They try to pet bison or jump into the water with a dolphin. That's their home. If someone violated your space and jumped into your home, you might get a little protective. So I'm amazed when people are surprised when wild animals act wild and are dangerous. Awareness. Or even in a zoo, I've seen videos of people jumping in cages to get pictures with wild animals in a zoo. They're still wild, and it's still a boundary violation. The golden rule works really well with everything, Even the tiniest molecule is conscious and responds to the energy around it. That's how energy medicine works. The molecules in a person's body responds to the intention and energy within someone else's hands or mind. It's so powerful that it can make sick people well, and it can sometimes do it instantaneously. So thinking of everything, humans, the plants, animals, mineral kingdom, ancestors, the other spirit entities, as alive and conscious is the first step to really living an animist lifestyle. If they're conscious, and they are, how do we want to interact with them? I don't have a lot of specific memories of my childhood. There's lots of general things, but one of the things I distinctly remember from childhood was walking in a natural space with my mom. Now, we grew up in the suburbs, so there wasn't a whole lot of wilderness right around us, and maybe that's why this sticks out in my mind so much, but my mom told me to be careful where I stepped. I asked her why. She said because I didn't want to inadvertently crush someone's house. I was really little when that happened, but in my mind I'm imagining fairies, ants, worms, as possibly being underfoot. And I was thinking about the tiny world that I couldn't see and imagining a party happening right under the mushrooms. That always sticks with me and helps me to create awareness of my impact on other humans and the other than human realm. Everything is sacred. There are no throwaways or worthless creatures. So when we're going to interact with anything, we want to ask permission. We want permission from the roses to pick them and display them in our homes. Some roses are very happy to be used in this way. Rose is the energy of love, so they're giving. Some roses don't want that. They want to be wild to ramble. You can't take these things for granted. Even though a species of thing has an energy or temperament, every individual is different. I don't ever go up to someone who's walking a dog and pet it. Never. First, you don't know if it's a working dog without asking. And working dogs are working, and petting them is a distraction. Second, you don't know if the dog wants to be petted. Dogs tend to be really friendly and people-oriented, but some have been abused. Lots of them are super anxious now. Dogs respond to co-regulation too and take on the temperament of the owner, so you can't be sure if touching them is safe. But more than that, you want the dog's permission. It's only respectful. Does it matter to the dog? Maybe not. It's a human communication tool that says, hey dude, I respect your sovereignty and I won't inflict my will on you just because I can. I think that mindset is the most important part of what I'm saying. It's about being aware that I don't have dominion over anything except what's inside my skin, my dependent children, or what's within my property lines. It's the same with the mineral realm. Actually, I think this is where we have the most problems. Historically, people have treated the environment as a resource to be exploited. We mine for gold, coal, diamonds, oil, whatever we can extract from the ground. We're overmining crystals and lithium, and once those things are consumed, they're gone. Am I saying that we leave everything in its natural state? No. The world was created to be dog eat dog. Everything consumes or uses something in order to stay alive. We all have to eat, have shelter, and warmth. But this is why our ancestors had rituals to work with the environment to ensure mutual survival. In Japan, the Ainu used bears as their main survival resource. They communed with the bear spirit to collaborate with them to catch the bear so they could survive. In return, they honored the bear and gave gratitude to the bear spirit. The same was true for Native Americans in the plains with bison. Life is reciprocal. Agricultural societies also observed fertility rituals, hunting rituals, and had rituals to honor the corn, the rice gods, or the vine, because these were central to survival. We're all in this life together. Healthy boundaries, consideration, reciprocity, compassion, and balance all help for everything to thrive. When you think of all the things that support life just today, there are so many things to contemplate. If you thank them all, you'd never get any work done because you'd be in a constant state of communication. But that's how I imagine life was for Aboriginal animists. Every day is an awareness of how your life depends on the creatures who provide you with everything. To act as if you're entitled to that and never ask permission to take from the environment and never give back is why we feel so lonely and disconnected. We don't live in harmony or awareness of that connection. We don't live in relationship with other people, much less our environment. But let's say that we can't make that mental jump. It's understandable. It's a new thought for a lot of people. If that's the case, let me invite you to begin to treat other humans with the idea that they're all sacred before you do anything with, to, or for them. Ask permission. It's a practice of healthy boundaries. Do you want me to pick this up for you? Can I get you lunch? Is it okay to use this pen? Or whatever. I work in mental health, so I see people every day who have never had this consideration. They never learned to live relationally. I see many people in their 20s and younger who'd never had a friend. They grew up in daycare with kids they did sports with or went to school with, but they weren't buddies. They weren't friends. I think they were being frenemies, and they think that's normal. It's not normal. What's healthy is to have relationships where you can trust each other, depend upon each other, and know that you're cared for just because you're human. I'd cultivate that with one person if the idea of living as if everything is alive, sacred, and connected feels weird. Build one safe, connected relationship and then branch out from there. It's about quality, not quantity. If your heart is big and open, there's enough love for everyone, but you gotta start somewhere. And don't do the whole self-awareness, other-awareness thing because I said so. I worked with this girl years ago who wanted connection so badly. She had all these rules about how to navigate in multicultural settings so that nobody would get offended. And if someone said the wrong thing, there were lots of sanctions. So someone was always in an uproar because we don't have the same sensitivity or rules. The utopian community she desperately wanted was over before it really began. The Tao Te Ching says, whenever the greatness of the Tao is present, right action arises from one's own heart. When the greatness of the Tao is absent, action comes from rules of kindness and justice. If you need rules to be kind and just, this is a sign that virtue is absent. So let your virtue lead you. And by that, I don't mean what is morally right. That would be to give your power away to society, because society creates morals. I mean to allow yourself to be guided by your heart. When you sit and savor a cup of hot chocolate, I think most of us would be delighted by the taste and smell. Our heart would swell with happiness we're receiving and want to give something back. When my dog runs up and greets my car when I get home from work in the evening, I'm always aware of his enthusiasm and appreciate his never-failing love, so I always stop before doing anything else and love him back. I would hate to come home and not get that greeting, so I reciprocate. Those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. Don't take more than you need. Always give back. Be grateful. Stay in your lane. Be open to connection and community. These are not easy things to do, especially if you didn't grow up with this or you didn't have healthy relationships or you weren't socialized in safe spaces. I've hosted spiritual tours for over 20 years, and I used to think that they were so magical because the spaces themselves were high energy. I typically went to places on ley lines and vortexes, but once I started going to places that weren't on ley lines or vortexes, I realized it's not about the place. It's about the peace. People came and returned because of the safety. It's always a safe place to be yourself and share yourself. I think that is what makes the most difference in anybody's life. Having a person and a space to be that. If you don't have that and want that, you're welcome to join my free private community. It's a place where you can share yourself and explore safe connections so that you can engage in an animist lifestyle for real. Nobody's going to judge you there. You can be as wild and different as you want to be. As long as you have healthy boundaries, you're welcome because it's shared space and everyone has to be safe, not just you. That's really the gist of this whole podcast, really. So when we practice self-awareness and sovereignty, that's what we're doing. Making our world safe for ourselves, other humans, plants, animals, and other creatures. When we're safe, love can flow. And that's who we truly are. We're all love. Don't let anyone tell you different. I know there is war and horrible things happening in the world. That's the people who are living a different reality. See the love. Be the love. When enough of us remember, things will change. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you checking in and to be reminded to mind your boundaries, be aware of others, be who you are, and stay connected to the all that is. See you next week. Ciao, guys.